Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. And so this is my thoughts, opinions, okay? So before people get, you know, head on with the, oh my God, how could you think this way? Again, these are my thoughts and opinions. And while I failed to go through the entire month of January with just a budget and mid-range device, on the day, but basically it was close to, like, it was just a day shy of a week with just a budget and mid-range device. All pixels were put away. Um, I do have my thoughts and my findings on my experience not touching a Pixel flagship device and just solely relying on my budget device, which that budget device was the N200 from OnePlus, and then the Galaxy A53 for my mid-range device. Now, the whole purpose, okay, to be upfront with everybody, the whole purpose of this was because 7 to 8 years ago, budget devices were very clowned on. They were trashed on. They just got no respect from the tech community, right? And that was one of the areas that like I was really thriving in on YouTube before, getting my very first Google Pixel phone. I was using a lot of, kind of mid-range devices, yes, and budget devices. And I was always trying to find a way to make the experience better and share my findings with other people out there who didn't want to spend too much money on a phone, but wanted to have a much better experience than what the phone natively, offered. And I wanted to see if that was something that needed to be done today. And the only way to do that was to put the Google Pixels away, at least the flagship ones, right? So like the 6, the 7, the 5, 4, 2XL, all those got put away. And all I used for nearly a week was the budget phone, OnePlus N200, and the Samsung Galaxy A53, which was my mid-ranger. So I'm going to break it up into two parts because it's two different phones that I use, and I'm just going to go over my thoughts and opinions, my findings of using these phones as my daily drivers. So starting off, we're going to start off with the OnePlus Nord N200. This device is considered budget in my opinion, and I think a lot of people would agree with me on that. It's not as powerful as say like the N10, well, yeah, the N10 or the N20. It's not as powerful as those devices. And so I looked at this phone and said, hey, this will be my budget option to use throughout this time, and used it. I did. So everywhere I went, both phones came with me, and I was using them, at least trying to give equal time to both of them throughout the day. So with the OnePlus N200, my only finding dropping back from a Pixel flagship device as the Pixel 7, which by the way, I'm recording this video with, so let me know how that video turns out. But while using a Pixel 7 for so long and then going down to something like the OnePlus Nord N200, the experience was not terrible. It was not terrible at all. As a matter of fact, the only thing I stressed out about this phone was the cameras. So connectivity was not a problem. The only downside to it is that because this is a Metro by T-Mobile device, it is network unlocked. But when you use anything other than a T-Mobile SIM card, Metro SIM card, or an MVNO on the T-Mobile network, if you use anything else, it's LTE only. With using anything on the T-Mobile network will give you 5G access. And I've used Metro by T-Mobile on here, so I have used it with the 5G access, and it's solid. You get those high speeds that it shows you. The latency, the ping is not that great on T-Mobile here. Ping on T-Mobile was like maybe I would say 68 milliseconds, 79 milliseconds. That's not that great, but speeds, averaging like 500 on the down and about 70 to 100 on the uplink. That's on T-Mobile. Now, with any other carrier, such as using like Mobile X with Verizon, or using Boost Infinite on AT&T, or Boost Mobile on AT&T, you're only going to connect to LTE with this device, and it's not bad at all. Speeds have been great. Anything that I've done on this phone, such as social media, YouTube, and stuff like that, has been great. No buffering on video playback. Listening to music, whether I have, my earbuds connected to it or just listening to it from the speaker, has been good. It's a squawk box. Hey, it is what it is, for what it's pricing. But the shocking thing was that the Android 12 and how it's optimized on here with Oxygen OS, it's smooth, which we never really used to say that about budget devices 7 years ago. It was always like there was a little bit of lag, a little bit of jank, a little bit of stutter, and this phone doesn't really do that. I can get it to get to the point where it will lag, and that's purposely opening every app and like running everything on it, and it will kind of glitch a little bit when you're scrolling through the feed. Um, the screen display is decent. I can see the display out in the sunlight. It's just the photography that's just weird about this phone. The photography does great in natural lighting like this. Like I could take a photo and it's gonna look decent. It's not gonna look anything that came from a Google Pixel phone, but it's gonna look decent. The only problem with it is that when you take shots with low light or at nighttime is where you start to see like the edges of the photo is very grainy. Just colors are washed and warped and it just looks terrible. And the same could be said with the video on this. If you take video during the daytime, you're going to be okay. But if you take video at night, it's going to be bad. So the only weakness that I had with this phone that kind of like agitated me was just the cameras. And it's funny because it has the watermark, which I'm asking Google to do the same for the Google Pixel phones. Put a watermark, allow us to choose an option to turn on a watermark to watermark stamp our photos and videos. That way people know that it's ours. I can't tell you how many times I posted a photo in a community that's my photo, and then somebody else like posted on a different social platform as their photo. And it's just like, you know, trying to prove it when no one wants to, you know what I mean? Like it's just taking somebody's work because I'm into photography. And so I would love to be able to stamp my photos so they know that people know that they're mine. But anyways, but this has it, but it's just weird because in the watermark stamp for this phone, when you take pictures, it has whatever signature you want to put, and then it says Hasselblad. So there's times where I've posted on different platforms trying to show like, you know, the N200's camera is not that great at low light shots, and people will ask me like, oh my God, like your OnePlus 9 Pro took that or your OnePlus 9 took that? And I'm like, it wasn't the OnePlus 9, it was the N200. So I don't know why they have Hasselblad on this thing. Hasselblad's a recognized name in the world of photography, and to put that on something like this that's pretty weak with low light shots, just doesn't do the name any good at all whatsoever. So I can say the aperture rating on this on these camera sensors is just horrible. But other than that, as far as like the experience, using the phone, using the apps, using the user interface, Android 12, how it's optimized, it's solid. If you were to blind test me on this and just put like some sort of weird casing around it where you couldn't identify what type of phone it was, and I would think it was a flagship. And I know that there's previous flagships that, you know, well, I'll get into that later on. We'll get into that later on. So, but that's my budget pick. That's what I think about that. We're moving into the mid-range here. Now, the Samsung Galaxy A53 really kind of like took majority of the brunt when using both these phones for, you know, the 6.5 days that I use them completely without touching a Pixel phone. Only because, one, the cameras on here really was like the savior of the day. As the same as the N200, the user interface with One UI, Android 12, and Android optimized on this phone is solid. Yes, it's an Exynos chip. It's the Exynos 1280, I believe. And while most would expect it to be like terribly, you know, trash, I had no hiccups, no lags, no stutters, no bumps, no jink or jank. It was okay. It was smooth. And you know, if you turn on 120 hertz, I mean, yeah, you'll have fun watching it smoothly scroll, but that's really all that is for. So again, in the mid-range department with the Android software, it's good. It is good. The saving grace with this phone, in my experience, was the cameras. The cameras do good in natural light. They do good in low light. So you can get a good photo. Now, they're not going to be like taken from a Google Pixel, as I've done a blind photo test. Shout out to everybody that participated in that, and shout out to those who left a comment as to why their choice was. And a lot of people chose the photo from the Pixel 5a. All the photos taken with the Galaxy A53, whether it was a food shot or it was a shot at nighttime with, you know, like the grass and a few vehicles in the parking lot. A lot of people said that the Galaxy A53 produced a photo where the grass looked like a nuclear green. So to me, that's like an oversaturated, overexposed colors in the shot, while the Pixel 5a really kind of kept the tone to a more natural look, which is why it won all the votes. But stripping away the fact that it went up against a Pixel 5a, which has the Sony IMX363 camera sensor and is definitely calibrated for the computational photography that the older Pixel phones with software enhancements do. Just for what it was, the one thing I didn't see a lot of was a lot of people saying that it was super horrible. So taking photos with the Galaxy A53 allowed me to basically get some shots of things I was looking at and be able to present that in a way that was in a way acceptable to people. Especially the vlog that I did where I shot video from the Galaxy A53 and took a bunch of photos in downtown and put it all together as a vlog and uploaded it. I mean, there were people that were like, the videos and the photos were pretty decent, and even playing around with camera modes. I wish some of the camera modes on here were on the Google Pixel phones. Like the super slow mo was outstanding. Those super slow mo shots you saw like on New Year's Eve with the fireworks popping and everything, that was done with the Galaxy A53. Of course, it has its playful modes, like it has a Snapchat filters natively built in into the camera app on Samsung. So you get to play with those if you're a big Snapchatter, or if you're not, but you want to have some of those filters that Snapchat has for, say, like Instagram or other photo sharing applications, you can do that with the native app. So as far as, Android in a whole, both these phones did very well that I did not miss using my Pixel 7 when I just judge it down strictly to the operating system, the functions of both these phones with Android 12. And mind you, my Pixel 7 has Android 13, and so does about every Pixel phone I have. All are basically running about Android 13 unless they're not supported anymore, like the Pixel 3s, the 2s, etc. Um, these phones handled everything that I needed to do. Email, even editing video. I edited video on both of those, and CapCut is my video editor preferred choice, and they did amazing. I didn't have any problems rendering a video. It didn't take forever to render a video, so that was great, especially when it was just, like a quick video to upload to things like TikTok or, like a YouTube Shorts or something like that. Like the rendering of the video in 1080p, 60 frames per second video was just like under 2 minutes. That was amazing. So they handle very well, and they don't have flagship chips inside of them. Now, to pretty much close this video out, like I know a lot of people will tell you, like, if you're going to option to get a brand new mid-range device or a brand new budget device, just go with an older flagship. And while that does kind of make sense because you're getting an older flagship device, so it has a flagship chip, more than likely a Qualcomm 800 series chip, and it's got all this amount of RAM in there for you, basically to be used by the applications that you have running in background, and the features and software updates, like those are going to be the reasons why I would agree and say that rather than going with today's mid-ranger, today's budget device, just go with last year's flagship or a flagship phone from 2 years ago, because you'll probably find it at the same price, close to what a brand new mid-ranger costs today, and be able to have the support. But if you're not wanting to pick up a secondhand used device, or it's hard to find an older flagship still sealed in the box, and you just want something that's brand new and you're optioning to go with a mid-range device, the last thing you need to worry about is a huge amount of lag and a huge amount of jank and stutter, from most of these devices that are coming from like OnePlus and Samsung. So to be straight out with everybody, when it comes down to these mid-range budget devices, the ones that you're gonna have a lot of like lag or jank with, which while I was using these devices as my main daily drivers, I was also testing out other devices, and those would be like the brands not recognized, right? So like the Wiko phone or Wiko phone, whatever it's called, or like the Solero 5G, that just a lot of these brands that are not really recognized are gonna deliver that old school budget mid-range experience. A lot of the recognized brands like OnePlus, Samsung, Motorola, they do fine when it comes to software optimization and just fluidity of interacting with the user interface. Even Motorola, like the Moto G Stylus 5G, which my son is now using, even that was a great experience as far as like the software and how it performed, the performance of the device itself, and even the cameras on it was solid. So that is my findings basically, is like, yeah, while you can go with an older flagship, um, I wouldn't say that that should always be your go-to option. Today's mid-rangers are really awesome. Of course, you'll have a little bit of weakness because they're mid-range devices. They got to cut corners somewhere. Budget devices, you're still going to be good when it comes to the software optimization and user experience on the user interface. You're going to be fine. The things that you'll have to worry about with some of the budgets is just the camera performance, which today that seems to be what most of the competition is with a lot of Android devices is camera and slight feature tweaks, but mostly it's just camera, refresh rate, battery life. Those are like the three things today in mobile technology that is compared to quite a bit. But when it comes down to software optimization and user experience on the user interface, it's pretty much on a level field now. So that's my findings. If you guys have any questions about my experience, you want me to go more in depth on one phone or the other phone, let me know in the comments. Smash the like button so that way we beat the algorithm, and share this on your different social platforms so more people can find this video. I really appreciate you guys for tuning in and checking it out. Thanks so much. And as always, aloha.